G'day Australia, I'm back again. I'm back. How was that? Oh no, hang on, I've got a new tape, I forgot. I've just returned from the War Museum. Went over there to visit it this morning, and I'm lost for words. It is just incredible. I mean, the implements of war and man's inhumanity to man, you know. I was in there today, and like when I went into the cells where the cells were and the guillotine and all that, as I said, the hackles on my back just went like that, because you don't know this, but I'm an open channel, you know, and this stuff directly affects me at a spiritual level, you know. Let's not talk about ethics and morality here. I mean, God, if you're not affected by, you know, a walk around that museum, you're not human, you know. And sadly, the battery ran out, and I didn't get to film half of the place, you know, just all the graphics. Excuse me, I'm just lining up here. I'm a bit nervous. Now, I have to apologise if I happen to repeat myself on any of these tapes, you know, because, as I said, I don't have a good recollection of every word that I speak, and there's a hell of a lot of information that's here that does sort of confuse me. I think it's true that the more knowledgeable a person becomes, the more confused you get. And I've got to that stage where I'm very confused about life, the universe, and everything. Now, most incredible thing happened this morning. One of the other tapes I showed you about all the street the wiring in the street, the power bloody lines for the electricity to power the city. On the corner this morning, I was sitting there having a tea out the front of the hotel, and this giant sounds like, "Dick, what a bloody half deafened you." I stands up and has a look down the street, and on the street corner there was a ball of sparks and fire, and this just zzz went on. You know, obviously the wires have crossed somewhere, and you know there's an open circuit there, and there's electricity and sparks just flying everywhere. The whole street just stopped and just boom. You know, I had a grand old stare, but I mean, you had to. It made so much noise. It's probably the most exciting thing that's going to happen to these people this month. But I had a little bit of a scare this morning with that, and apart from that, what else? As I said, it was a pretty disheartening, saddening morning, you know. So, as I said, I shed a tear, you know, because, as I said before, you cannot sort of experience this stuff, these weapons of war, how killing machines, and now this stuff's, you know, 40 years old, for Christ's sake. I mean, now the sophistication of the weaponry now, that stuff's like, you know, Stone Age bloody warfare. And anyway, I had to write. They had a couple of journals in different parts of the museum where, you know, people come and write comments and da-da-da, and the common theme right throughout the whole thing is how much America stinks, and how sorry the world is. Particularly, I noticed there was a lot of French people, a lot of French writing in amongst it there, because, you know, this was a French colony many years ago, before when the Legionnaires were here, and the Vietnamese kicked their arse, and you know, and they had to call in the Americans to stop the Red Menace, because in those days, back in the 60s, it was the Reds under the bed sort of stuff, you know, the domino theory, da-da-da, and as it was going, you know, it was sort of heading that way. So the Americans think that they can just, put their foot in the door and save the world sort of things, but it just goes to show the ignorance and the stupidity of the Americans, that it's a carbon copy of what's happening in Iraq right now, As I said, history repeats itself. I've always subscribed to that theory, is that it does. And if you do not learn from the past, you are condemned to relive the past again in the future. And as I said, here we are, Deja Spew all over again. Well, what to talk about today? Let's talk about the television here, Vietnamese television. Do you know that they have The Price is Right, the Vietnamese version of The Price is Right? It's so funny. They go, come on down, and they do the same thing as a carbon copy, except everyone's got rice eyes, And it's quite. I'm just sort of watching the National Geographic and the Discovery Channel, sort of just trying to zoom in. But when I'm channel surfing on the ads, I sort of catch bits and pieces of the Vietnamese television, and I had to come in today too to escape from the heat. As again here, I'm sitting here in my underwear with the air conditioning on, because the first 2 days I was in the hotel, I didn't even realise that the air conditioner worked. Yesterday was the first time I actually put it on, and it's good. It's all good. Very cool in here now. As I say, it's I just had another shower. Oh, that's nothing. There's no hot water. Thank God it's 90% humidity here, because have cold showers every day in a hotel like this is quite bizarre. But I have to have 5 or 6 showers a day just to keep cool. But I was, but now I've got the air conditioning going. I'll probably just cut it down to 1 or 2. Let's talk a little bit meteorology here, because we're in the tropics and that we get the ritual daily shower. And yesterday afternoon I was out there when I was filming the wires and all the rest of it, and it rained, and it friggin' rained. Boy, I nearly swore then. But what's wrong with swearing? If Eddie Murphy and Billy Connolly can make a living out of saying every second word is fuck this, fuck, 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 well, why can't everybody else? Anyway, there's another thing that I have to talk about, and that's the absolute obsession that Vietnam has with Ho Chi Minh. Everywhere you go, Ho Chi Minh's picture, his statue, he said it. But comparing the money, every single, that's a 10,000 note. See, Ho Chi Minh, that's 100,000. Ho Chi Minh, Mo Hai's $2 note. There he is, Ho Chi Minh. Well, I only have, but take my word for it. Every single note has Ho Chi Minh on it. And as I said, it just goes to show that the legacy of Ho Chi Minh will probably never die, because, as I said, he's the founding father of the country. Without Ho Chi Minh, I suppose they never would have rallied the people to take up arms against the Americans. But we also have to remember that the Chinese had a lot to do with aiding the Vietnamese, the North Vietnamese, because without them, America might have had a chance of totaling the north of Vietnam, which, they bombed and bombed and bombed incessantly. And so, how was that seismic bomb? This is incredible, that a bomb that size, as I said, and that's old hat now, that's the 30, 40-year-old technology, but it took out 3-kilometre radius, just total destruction, sorry, my grammar, for a 3-kilometre radius. It's scary to think that nowadays that stuff is old hat. It's very, the old saying, man's inhumanity, and thank God for the communists in some way, because without the communists there'd be nothing left here. Anyway, it's fortunately now that Buddhism, the population is predominantly Buddhist, and there's some sanity reigns there because, well, Buddhism's the only religion that people have never fought wars over, and sadly, spirituality is not a commodity. So, Buddhism is very low down on the spiritual scale. Another obsession that the Vietnamese have with uniforms, I swear, like we have parking cops and bluey policemen at home, but these guys, they've got every single person wears a uniform, parking police, and then there's different sort of types of police. And not only that, every bank and supermarket has their own security, and they all have their own uniforms, which look like police uniforms. They all want to look like policemen, Nothing more exciting than a person in uniform, for those that are hung up on dressing up. And then adornments, badges, medals, it's the complete package. It's the image that they're trying to portray of someone of authority, and someone to be respected, because, as I said before, this is predominantly peasant class here, and 80% of the population is illiterate, and poor things, they have to pay money to go to school to learn English, and some way of just drumming up revenue, I suppose, for some people who are fortunate enough to know the language. So we go on with about the communists. The only disheartening part about the whole communist manifesto, talking about religion and communism here, is that Mao Zedong said in a very famous line to the Dalai Lama, "Religion is poison." You know what I mean? And old Mao, he was always the one that, religion's the opiate of the people. So, let's not get the people addicted to religion. And, that's what, whenever you have communists take over, the first thing they do is they go along and they kill all the intellectuals, the doctors, the teachers, and the people with education, because they have the intelligence to know that their culture and everything about their lifestyle is being undermined, and because of that, a peasant who has no education whatsoever, if you tell him that day is night, well, they'll believe you, because you're supreme executive power. And when you have a culture that's ruled by the gun, what do? Nothing, because they just take you out and summarily execute you because you dared to stand up for your own rights, because human rights is something that doesn't exist under a communist state. Fortunately now, we have a communist country, but like China, they're getting a taste of the West and capitalism, and they like it. They like the thought of a little bit of independence. But when you have 10 million people all trying to make an earn, and tourism's basically the only thing that keeps the country going, I think, because I'm not sure how much they have in as far as mineral wealth, oil, and other commodities to the word I'm after, to prop up their economy. To say that, I'm sure that tourism does keep the whole economy sort of viable. I've talked on the other tapes about communicating with the natives, and it's every day I learn another phrase to have some kind of communication with the people. But even the racketeer